So you know how I'm incredibly confident and definitely not awkward or unsure of myself in any way whatsoever? Well, it wasn't always like that. It's still not, actually, but it used to be worse. My self-confidence probably reached its lowest point around the 8th grade, which might sound pretty scary to any Sevies watching, so real quick, if you're struggling with self-confidence, I just want to say, it gets worse. Anyway, my 8th grade year, and also all the others, were filled with me not knowing how to act or what to do in pretty much any situation, which led to a ton of embarrassing moments that I can make into a video score. One time, I got a pimple in my ear that itched real bad. The whole day, I was doing everything I could to ignore it, but when I was sitting in history, it just got way too distracting. So I gave it a little scratch. I did everything I could to clean up the blood before anyone noticed, but I didn't just pop the pimple, I replaced it with a blood faucet. I asked the teacher if I could use the bathroom, and he was like, no. But then I said, yeah, but I'm bleeding out of my ear. So he was like, fine. Another time, that same teacher sent me to sit in the hall for like 5 minutes. I don't remember why. I was probably talking too much. It's not important. I ended up falling asleep in the stairwell and woke up when the bell rang like half an hour later. I went back into the room to grab my stuff, and the teacher was like, oh, I forgot about you. Actually, that was probably more embarrassing for him. At least I got a sweet nap out of it. One day I was doodling on my homework in math class. I was a couple years ahead in math, so I was the youngest kid in the room, and I didn't really know anyone. Some people would use that opportunity to be charismatic and make new friends, but I decided to be socially awkward and talk to nobody. Anyway, I doodled my name like this because I think it looks cool, and the girl who sat next to me was like, whoa, do my name. I didn't know her name. I've never been great with names to begin with, and this was the only class I had with her, but we were at least halfway through the school year. I definitely should have known. But you can't just tell someone you've been sitting next to every day for months that you can't remember their name, so I told her to do it herself. She never talked to me again. I panicked, okay? I didn't want to be rude, but I couldn't bring myself to admit that I didn't know her name, even though that probably would have been less embarrassing. Wait. Most of the moments I was mortified about during school were actually not a big deal, like, at all. And I was dumb for thinking anyone cared, because they didn't. But at the time, I would have switched schools just to avoid anyone who ever saw me, like, accidentally walk down the wrong hallway, which isn't a super embarrassing thing to do. And everyone's done it at least a few times, but it's happened enough to me that if you added up all the mild embarrassment, there might be more than from any other single dumb thing I've done. I wonder how many miles I've spent walking the wrong way. I've probably burnt so many calories. There were a few ways I'd try to cover a mistake like that. I'd check my phone and pretend that I'm turning around because of a text, or I'd just commit and keep walking down the wrong hall, take the stairs to the 2nd floor and loop all the way around back to where I actually needed to go. I'd waste a ton of time just to avoid people seeing me backtrack. What's wrong with me? I was talking to a friend about this, and when I asked how she'd cover, she was like, oh, if I ever went the wrong way, I'd just turn around. Get out. Looking back, I'm more ashamed of the things I did to avoid embarrassment than the things I was trying to avoid in the first place. So I guess there's another lesson for you. It gets even worse. Like this one time, I was heading to my locker after lunch, and when I rounded the corner, this girl jumped out and scared me. I screamed in the highest pitched girly girl voice you've ever heard. I probably broke a few windows. Of course, the girl who spooked me was laughing after a successful spook, so I tried to laugh it off with her. At that point, I might have escaped with only mild embarrassment, but someone else walked up and asked what was so funny. It would have been so easy to say, I screamed like a girl, but oh no. 8th grade TimTom went to incredible lengths to avoid embarrassment. So, in an attempt to dodge the question, I just laughed harder. I can't answer the question if I'm busy laughing, right? But the harder I laughed, the more everyone around us wanted to know what was so funny. I was drawing a crowd. Crap. The more people wanted to know, the more I wanted to avoid explaining anything. And I had very few options other than to just keep laughing. After the lunch bell rang, we had 5 minutes to get to class, and it took about 1.5 minutes to clean up and start heading to my locker, which means I stood there fake laughing for an eternity. I was in too deep. The longer I waited to explain, the higher their expectations were. My only hope was to just wait them out, and I am not a quitter. I laughed like my life depended on it. I laughed harder than anyone has ever laughed in the history of mankind. My eyes were tearing up, I was clutching my sides, I lost my balance and slid down the wall. I made sure the entire school could hear me. I might have overdone it. Eventually, everyone went to class, and I was left alone on the floor of the hallway. They all probably thought I was the weirdest kid in school, but hey, at least nobody knows I scream like a girl. Alright, so I haven't mentioned it in a video before, but I have a Discord server where you can come say hi to me if you're into that sort of thing. I'll put a link in the description, it's whatever. And if you want me to put your fan art in an end card, just tag me on Twitter. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.